5 centuries ago, the gates of hell yawned open, and the world as it was ended. Cities crumbled beneath infernal storms, oceans boiled, the sky wept blood, and from the broken earth crawled abominations, dragged screaming from the abyss. Demons unchained, and heretics emboldened. Mankind stood at the edge of annihilation, and yet we did not fall. The Holy Inquisition, once a scourge of witches and blasphemers, did not tremble. Under the iron will of Dominus Primus Tomas de Torquemada, they turned their fire not on men, but monsters. Their righteous fury, once spent upon fellow sinners, found new worthy prey in the legions of the damned. Where angels fled and kings wept, the Inquisition stood. They had made no pact with heaven, and they sought no reward. They knew that the road to salvation was blocked, and chose instead the path of wrath. They became the sword in God's forgotten hand. They became monsters to destroy monsters. Each Inquisition took up the burden of sin, not to be forgiven, but to be useful. For every heretic purged, for every demon slain, they carved a scar into the skin of the world, and called it mercy. Do not weep for their souls. They do not ask you to. They do not await paradise. No choir of saints sings their names. When death claims them, and it always does, they will gather again in hell, regimented and righteous, 40 by 40, rank upon rank, with holy fire in one hand and relic steel in the other. They will march across the sulphur wastes, their chants drowning the screams of the damned. And they shall not stop until they reach the throne of the adversary himself, and they shall tear it down, stone by cursed stone, bone by broken bone. Alrighty, so today's video is about Torquemada's Inquisition, which is a Kickstarter that's being run right now by dakadaka.store. These models are really, really, really beautiful, and they've done some really beautiful art. I can't speak enough of the talent of this particular team. They just have some really wonderful stuff here that we're going to go through today. We're going to go through some of the rules. The rules were done by Shadow Assassin. We'll talk more about the rules when we get to them. But it's obviously very much inspired by the Spanish Inquisition. That tiny bit of lore is dope. This is not an official Trenc Crusade thing at all. This is a third party. The rules are unofficial, very much so. These could be proxied in if you wanted to definitively use them against anybody else. Everything matches up quite well with other things within the range, and you can definitely do it that way if you want to. Now, I apologize if you can hear cat noises in the background. My cat, well, one of my cats is being a bowsy, but it's Friday and she's allowed. So let's take a look at some of these rules while various models from the range will be playing across the screen in front of us. So this is a New Antioch warband variant, and the Inquisition has the following special rules. Rally behind the banner. Models in the warband can gain the rallied status by standing beneath the banners of Cortez and the Inquisition. When rallied, these models gain the following benefits. Yeomen gain line volley. Gain +1 dice to ranged attacks, except for weapons with the keyword grenade. Shock troopers gain parry. When an enemy attacks this model in melee, you can interrupt the attack and make a melee action with one of its melee weapons. If successful, the enemy melee attack is rolled with a -1 dice. If this action is a critical, the enemy melee attack automatically misses. This can be done outside of the model's activation. You may parry up to 2 attacks per enemy if you have an offhand weapon, but must apply relevant penalties. Lieutenants gain line volley and parry. Combat engineers gain extended cover. If this model uses the fortify ability, friendly models within 2 inches at that moment count as in cover as well until they move. Then the special rule they came to conquer. Cortez's men sail in light, fast ships across the sea to storm the shores of foreign lands. The warband may not include sniper priests, heavy mechanized infantry, or communicant tank hunters. and may not promote yeomen to trench molds. The Inquisitorial Host rule. This warband may recruit up to 2 Convent heavy gunners, up to 1 Inquisitor, and up to 1 Jaula de Castigo. I'm assuming that means, like, you know, a jail, basically castigation, which counts as a mercenary. Sorry, my Spanish is not very good. First, before we get too deep into this, the statistics for those models may be found in the special units section. This warband may choose either a lieutenant or an inquisitor to lead your soldiers. Your roster can never contain both at the same time. Should your current leader die, you may recruit a replacement and choose between the two again. Okay, the Armory of Castile. The conquistadors prefer the tried and tested tools of line infantry over experimental tech. This warband cannot be equipped with submachine guns or sniper rifles. Machine guns have a limit of 1. Incendiary grenades are elite only. Only the lieutenant may wear machine armor. Grenade launchers are limit 3. For glory and gold, the conquistadors are notorious for their pursuit of gold over everything else. For each glorious deed they perform, their next exploration ducat multiplier is increased by 1. For example, if they performed 2 glorious deeds, then the amount of ducats they get is the exploration roll by 12 instead of by 10. However, when requesting reinforcements, they lose up to 2 glory from their reserves to a minimum of 0, selling glory items if needed. If they have no glory, they may still request reinforcements. Viva Cortez. If playing a campaign, the patron of the warband is automatically Cortez, represented in rules as a temporal lord. Bombardio. The warband may include up to 3 combat engineers. They can be modified into a bombardio by replacing their battlefield demolition ability with the following one, which is called Munitions Expert. This model ignores the heavy keyword on grenade launchers. When making ranged attack actions with them, they may decide to load it with concussion ammunition instead. This removes the keyword shrapnel from the attack, as well as rolling injuries with -1 dice. A model hit by this weapon suffers an additional blood marker, in addition to any other effects of the injury roll. The model suffers this blood marker even if the attack has no other effects or is otherwise negated. Duelists. Up to 3 shock troopers may be upgraded to duelists for 5 ducats each. They gain +1 inches to their movement characteristic, and they do not suffer penalties from offhand attacks. However, they lose the assault drill ability and may not be equipped with any armor. And then the Pyre Justicar. This warband may recruit 1 Pyre Justicar. They use characteristics of the Witchburner General. They cost 140 ducats. They cannot modify their equipment in any way. They gain the elite keyword. This does not prevent you from hiring a Witchburner General as a mercenary. Double Witchburners, baby. The Voice of Torquemada. This warband's Trench Cleric can choose to replace their Onwards Christian Soldier's ability with the ability listed below. Burning Zeal. Select 1 friendly model within 8 inches of the Trench Cleric, including the Trench Cleric, and take a risky action. If successful, the model immediately bursts into Holy Flame and gains a blood marker. Until the end of the round, they are not affected by fear, and the opponent cannot apply any blood markers for penalties on this model or on this model's melee attacks. Their next melee action gains +1 dice to hit. So yeah, not bad. Okay, the Inquisition Special Equipment. The Blessed Greatsword costs 13 ducats. Touched by the flaming wrath of Torquemada himself, these massive blades carry his will to root out all heresy. Each strike is a sermon against the unclean. They burn with a light that sears flesh and soul alike. It's two-handed. It's obviously a melee weapon. +1 dice to injuries. Keywords heavy and critical. And it rolls all injuries with +1 dice. Against a model with the keyword heretic, black grail, or demonic, roll +2 dice instead. And it's elite only, and there's a limit of 1 of them, because they're pretty badass. Anti-material rifle. The convent heavy gunners whisper prayers into its barrel, treating the rifle as both weapon and confessor. Its shells punch through armor like the finger of God, a reminder that no heresy can hide behind steel. So it's an anti-material rifle. It's two-handed. It's got 36-inch range. It's got 1 dice to injury. Keywords heavy and critical. It ignores armor, and you add +1 dice when rolling on the injury chart. and that's for the Convent Heavy Gunner only, and they can only have one. The Conquistador flag. The tattered and blood-spattered banners have seen 100 battles, planted atop conquered soil as declaration of conquest. Where they fly, Cortez soldiers fight with the fervor of men who believe heaven itself watches their deeds. Rules: when carrying the flag, a model cannot make actions for which it requires the use of a second hand. When carried, it gives the bearer +1 dice to dash actions. When placed, it turns into a marker on a 25mm dice. And friendly models within 4 inches of it gain the status rallied, as we discussed earlier. The model carrying the flag may place or retrieve the flag within base contact at any point during their activation, except if they are in melee. Can be charged and destroyed if a melee attack hits it. It can also be placed anywhere within your own deployment zone after all other models are deployed. And there's a limit of 3. The Cortez banner. Woven from threads of sacred reliquaries, Cortez's personal standards are carried only by his most trusted. The fight beneath its shadow is to be anointed by the wrath of the Inquisition itself, yet seeing it fall counts as the foulest omen. Rules: this banner acts as a polearm in melee, but only takes one hand. Friendly models within 4 inches of this model gain the status rallied. If the model equipped with this item is down or out of action, the warband rolls morale with -1 dice. And it's a limit of 1, and it can be lieutenant and shock troopers only. Alrighty. And then the Inquisitorial Clergy. So the Inquisitor model, basically, costs 90 ducats. Dressed in red, equipped with huge swords, they were personally consecrated by Torquemada. The Inquisitors thoroughly punish heretics. So it's 6-inch movement, because it's infantry, +1 dice to ranged, +2 dice melee, armor 0, base 32 mil. It's tough. It has Edict of Fate. The Inquisitor ignores the effect of the keyword heavy on melee weapons. The Inquisitor can still only carry a single heavy item unless they are strong. His charred visage. The Inquisitor causes fear. Repent. As a risky action, the Inquisitor may target a model it is in melee with and bring down his searing judgment on them. If it is successful, that model must immediately make a retreat action 3 inches directly away from the Inquisitor. Against models unaffected by fear, roll this check with a -1 dice. Against those with the keyword heretic, black grail, or demonic, roll with a +1 dice. So that obviously evens out if it's one of those keywords and causes fear. Alrighty. The Convent Heavy Gunners. Believers are filled with the faith in this hefty rifle that in a duet with a man, she is the leader, and the shooter is the wingman, and some priests say that they hear the voice of the gun that guides them. Infantry, 6-inch movement, +1 dice in range, -1 dice in melee, 0 armor, 25mm base. A Convent Heavy Gunner can be equipped with any weapon and equipment from the new Antioch Armory. They may only be equipped with standard armor. Abilities: her voice in flames. Faithfully devoted to the spirit of the gun they wield, this model ignores the keyword heavy for a single ranged weapon it is equipped with, except if it has the keyword grenade. Okay, I know that they're not called Convent Heavy Gunners actually on the Kickstarter. Let me just check their names. It should be pretty obvious what they are from what I can remember. Yeah, the Novitiate of Assassino the Tank, maybe? I don't know. As I said at the start, don't know Spanish very well, if at all, ever. Okay, and the Jaula de Castigo. Especially dangerous and impious blasphemers are given the choice of either being burned alive or trying to atone for their sins at a church service. Of course, some choose death by flame and suffocation, and they are much more lucky. Because the second option is scarier than death, the culprit is locked inside a steel mechanized golem, which will serve as his prison for the rest of his life. Groovy. I really like this model, I have to say. Equipment: the Jaula de Castigo is equipped with special armor, reflected in its profile, and is considered to be equipped with 2 great hammers. When using this weapon, add +1 to all injury rolls. Example, a roll of 7 on 2d6 becomes 8. You cannot alter their armor, weapons, or equipment in any way, and their stat line is 6 inches movement, NA on ranged, +2 dice on melee, -3 armor, and a 60mm base, so the same as the Anchorite. Unending Penance ability. All attacks with the keyword fire and or gas suffer a -1 dice to injure this model. Additionally, this model does not suffer additional blood markers caused by the keywords fire, gas, and or shrapnel. Sermon and Screams. Each time this model gains blood markers, the entombed blasphemer screams in agony, which rouses the Inquisition's zeal. For each blood marker it takes, one elite model within 6 inches can gain 1 blessing marker if they do not already have one. And in Fear, this lumbering testament to the Inquisition's cruelty causes fear. So yes, those rules, as I said, were done by Shadow Assassin. The usual suspects in the helpful council list. You've got Dark Loser and LX, who seem to show up everywhere. You've got Vale. Hopefully I'm pronouncing Vale's name correctly, Val. I actually do a little bit of this and that with Val. And then Platypotamus. So the usual folks, basically, who always seem to show up on Rules Help. And then proofreading and playtesting by SPDC and Le Jebin. I assume Le Jebin. Sorry if I'm butchering your names, guys. You wouldn't be able to pronounce a lot of Irish names perfectly, so don't worry about it. Yeah, so overall, I think this Kickstarter is dope as shit. It's already ripping along on backing. I think they've backed by about 40 grand or something already, which is incredible. They were looking for 5 and they're up to 40. So definitely go over and check them out. I love the models. I love the art. Dakadaka.store do a bunch of good shit that's not just related to this, and not just like a Trenc Crusade proxy. So you should really go and check out their website too. But that's it for this video. Hopefully you found it informative, maybe? I don't know. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and have a great weekend, and all the best.